What's up, everybody? Raphael Garcia back for the February 22nd edition of the MMA Ratings Podcast. I hope everybody's doing and stuck in the cold. Tonight too as well, but it is what it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to, oh man, the biggest news that you tell before. They tried to have, and they did it last year, but pop over. It's into Charlie. Um, Conference was pretty interesting. A lot of interesting out of it. Personally, obviously being they're working with the World Anti also knows WADA, but they're going to use their test who the third party testing group will be, but those where test upon the first film, that's what the job fit coming out of the front. Going to it was mentioned that fighters who are champions that are caught, they're going to penalize those at the bottom. That leaves a gray area. Not like and may not. Um, what position for? I think the big thing that's saving them is that these fighters are contract. They do punish someone hard in apostrophe God. It's something that if they had a union or unfortunately don't I don't think they ever will. A situation where is into their position on the worth watching. And On top of that, it's other interesting I mentioned as well is that the going to more money to out of testing. Like that's definitely good because it's going to cost all of you. Get the foot up. Someone is going about doing so. That's from fight, I think made events and then lose. I wrote about this. It'll probably be at such an expensive time. Had they known this, would they really UFC when they just Daniel Cormier? Because that would ruin that card. And it's just not a situation that they want to find themselves in at this point in time. So I'm interested to see if they really do stand by that and start yanking guys off of main cards, main events, if they see that they're failing out of competition testing. This is really going to be one of those moments where we look back and see how much this changed the sport. This policy is going to go into effect on July 1st, which is like right before the Reebok deal goes into play too. So UFC is definitely making moves to become more of a mainstream entity, but it's just something that is going to be more difficult to review or to talk about until we start seeing this stuff in play. As guys start falling, if big names fight start falling apart, I wonder just how much the UFC is going to um, stand behind this decision because it is definitely something that is going to be difficult to watch just from this point forward. I know we're at a point in time where these athletes have to start. They have something needs to be done because too many guys are failing tests, and we've already seen what performance enhancing drugs does to sports. We saw what it did to football. We've seen what it's done to baseball, and just the fact that it's MMA, this is that much more dangerous of a situation. So I definitely commend them for taking this stance. I think it definitely should have already been done, just like the insurance deal when it was announced a couple of years back. So it's good to see them finally take this stance. It's just I have to wait and see what happens going forward. I really wonder how much they are going to stand behind pulling guys off of cards, or how often we're going to hear about guys failing tests, or how or what segment of guys will be. Will be guys all across the board, top of the ladder, bottom of the ladder, newcomers, old established fighters. It's just such a wealth of questions that are going to be left once this goes down. That I'm actually most interested in seeing that as it opens up. So yeah, that's definitely the biggest bit of news that came out over these past 5 to 7 days. So obviously there's a couple of pieces that there will be some pieces up on MMA ratings about what the PED conversation has kind of left where they left the sport at this point in time. I wrote a piece about legacies and how they are intertwined with failing a performance enhancing test, because I just wonder what people's thoughts are on John Fitch now, Hector Lombard, Anderson Silva. Just, do they think that they're still the greatest of all time? Is Fitch one of the greatest welterweights of all time to ever compete now? Is Anderson Silva the best of all time now still? Just because it brings their whole entire resume into question. Now that all those knockouts that Silva had, I think he would got to like 14 title defenses. Does all that stuff now have like no, he got 10. He had 14 straight wins, 10 title defenses. But like, does all that have a asterisk by it now for sticking with sports talk? Does John Fitch's run where he was beating guys left and right and couldn't get another rematch against GSP, does that have an asterisk by it now too as well? Because we don't know how often these guys were taking anything. We don't know if they were taking stuff before and just never caught. So now, like, my question is, do we look at these fighters now and look at them differently, or look at their legacies differently? I mean, we do that for Vitor Belfort. We did that with Sean Scherzer. They almost never have gotten an opportunity to get past their failed tests that they've had in their career. So now it's kind of like, what do we do with these guys going forward? Do we look at them the same way? Do they hold the same position that they did across all sports? We never know. So I'm interested in seeing what fans and what some media experts say about these guys going forward. I've seen some pieces about it. Some people, even Dana White and Ronda Rousey were talking about how shocked they were to see Anderson Silva's failed test. Man, I saw some friends of mine who might watch one UFC event a year. Anderson Silva may be the only MMA athlete that they can name, and they were talking about it across Twitter, across Facebook. So this is definitely a big point. So it's unfortunate what we've seen, but I'm just wondering what these guys' legacies will be going forward. So as we see, PEDs is definitely going to be in a conversation over the next few weeks, and it sucks that I got to segue like this, but that brings us to tonight's event where Antonio Silva and Frank Mir are fighting in the main event, because both of these guys have had CRT issues in the past, and what does this so like we look at this main event and it's like someone I talked to within the industry called it the TRT tour of retirement, and that both guys should basically just walk away from the sport at this point in time. And it's unfortunate, but that's where we are right now. Looking at this card, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not too excited. I intend on watching the pay-per-view event over on WWE tonight instead of this fight. I'll be honest. So I'm definitely not too excited, but I'll gladly talk about what I see up on this card. Obviously, we're gonna start with the main event where we have Antonio Silva and Frank Mir, two heavyweights who have been struggling as of late. And I don't even think that this fight, it matters for their resume, it matters for their win-loss record, it matters for their bank account. But it's not a win for either one of these guys. Won't get them any closer to Cain Velasquez. It won't get them any closer to the top of the division. Heavyweight is like so dearth of contenders right now. It's just no name value there. Even Velasquez himself, people forget about him. So one has to wonder. It's unfortunate that heavyweight is still main eventing UFC cards. But looking at this fight here, I expect Antonio Silva to be able to win. His jiu-jitsu is good enough to be able to avoid Frank Mir's submissions. I think he's going to be able to stuff Mir's takedown attempts. I could see him getting on top of Mir and pounding him out first or second round. The same way he kind of did with Fedor a few years back. I don't think this is going to be a good loss for Frank Mir. I think the biggest thing we should see coming out of this is his retirement. Mir is probably, he deserves a position in the UFC Hall of Fame. He was the heavyweight that kind of captured everyone's attention to show that heavyweight fighters could be good. They could be athletic, but unfortunately, he was one of those guys who was before his time. It's unfortunate that that, and then it was the motorcycle accident that kind of hampered his career as well. Then he's most known for the Brock Lesnar experiment, and that's not the that's not the highlight of his career. I know, in my opinion, man, my biggest um, Frank Mir moment is when he broke Nogueira's arm. Like watching him look at the ref and then just let him know I'm going to break it. And after he called it, he told Nogueira he was going to break his arm, and then he broke his arm. So like that was just craziness worth seeing there. So I appreciate Frank Mir. I definitely appreciate him as a heavyweight grappler. I would love to see him do something like uh, Morris, for example, and watch him and Josh Barnett go. That would be awesome to me. But I just don't want to see him in the cage anymore. I think it's unfortunate he's taken a lot of damage recently, and I think that the UFC needs to make him retire the same way they did with Chuck Liddell and Matt Hughes. I think they're going to do the same with BJ Penn. I think Frank Mir needs to be added to that list. He deserves a spot in UFC Hall of Fame. But other than that, we all know that Hall of Fame is kind of a joke anyway. But still, I think he is a heavyweight fighter that's definitely earned his place of prominence in the sport. I expect Antonio Silva to get the win, but I don't really see him fighting his way back to heavyweight contention. And the thing is that he could, though. Yeah, I could see him beating a smaller Stipe Miocic. I think he would beat Andre Arlovski if they fought again, even though he got clipped last time. So he could get 2 or 3 wins together, and with that division, you never really know. So if he pulls out a win here, maybe they put him against Junior Dos Santos or something like that, kind of let those guys who have gotten title shots continue to eat away at each other. So that's what I see happening there. The co-main event is Edson Barbosa against Michael Johnson. This is a good lightweight fight there. Both Barbosa and Johnson have been on a pretty good run. They've had some hiccups, but they've put together a good amount of wins. I expect Johnson to get the win here because I just don't believe Barbosa's chin is going to be able to stand up to the power that he hits with. We've seen Barbosa get stunned by uh, Danny Castillo. That Donald Cerrone dropped him with the jab, and we all know Michael Johnson hits hard, so I expect him to catch him with something big and kind of finish this fight from there. Johnson also has some good wrestling to be able to score takedowns against Barbosa, but the one detriment to that is Barbosa's leg kicks. We all know leg kicks really hamper wrestlers, and Johnson doesn't really do a good job of checking them to begin with. So we'll see how much that plays into the Brazilian uh, fighting style for this fight here. But Johnson's my pick for co-main event at lightweight. We have Cesar Ferreira against Sam Alvey. Don't really care too much about that fight. The Rustam Hamidov fight and Adriano Martinez. I'm looking forward to that fight though. Because Martinez is someone who's on a pretty good run too. He's another guy that Cerrone put to sleep with that vicious head kick last year. So, and Hamidov was doing pretty good against Vincent Henderson last year as well, until he took that uppercut combination that put him down and allowed him to get that rear naked choke. So that's another good fight there that I would like to watch. I'll probably watch it afterwards after the night is over. Looking at the rest of the card, let's see who else catches my attention. 1 second. Let's see. Sean Strickland, I was definitely looking forward to seeing him continue. He's put together some good fights. Jessica Andrade is back in the cage as well. Let's see. Cody Gibson, I even after his club fiasco, I still think this guy has some value to the UFC. I hope he is able to turn it around because he's young. I don't want to see him get cut for anything. I don't want to see him lose his roster spot, but he definitely has to win this fight tonight, or you can see him being sent out of the promotion as a whole. So this is definitely a card for Brazil, as most other cards are. If you do sit down and watch, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw some good fights. As I mentioned, the lightweight fight should be pretty good. I'm wondering what Sean Strickland is going to do because he's looked decent in his UFC run, and the same goes for Jessica Andrade. She had that tough outing against Liz Carmouche when she started, but since then she's looked pretty good. I think this would be, if she gets a win here, I think this would be her third win in a row. So she has an important fight there. And obviously, I already mentioned Cody Gibson, who I'm looking forward to watching fight. We also got some fights going on this weekend with UFC 184. That's scheduled, and I think those who are 130, what is it? Those who are 134 is this weekend as well too. So like there should be some good MMA action going on. I want to start with the Bellator event, looking at that, and I've been waiting for Liam McGarry to get his shot at the light heavyweight title. So let's see what he can do with Emmanuel Newton. Emmanuel Newton is one of those guys who just flies under the radar. No one really pays him any attention. I don't even think he's ranked in anyone's top 10, but he just keeps winning. He pulled out a tough win against Linton Vassell at Bellator 130, but he still has that title around his waist. So let's see what this guy with the hardcore kid keeps doing. I think Liam is going to be a tough fight for him, definitely a tough outing, but I'm looking forward to that. So that means that I may pop in and watch that. Paul Daly is back, and we all know that Paul Daly puts guys out. Like I love watching him fight guys who are going to stand there and strike with him because it looks like he looks like he hit ridiculously hard. So when guys like there's different kinds of knockouts. There's a knockouts where guys get hit, then they get finished off with a couple more shots. Then there's a knockouts where guys like get hit and they go down, and the ref steps in because they're obviously hurt. Then there's like the Paul Daly-esque, Anderson Silva at like the video game knockouts where it looks like something that you would only see in video games. Some of Paul Daly's uppercut finishes have just been like ridiculous. Even when he rocked Nick Diaz a couple years back, it's just like this guy's power is out of control. So I hope that we and Andre Santos is another guy who hits hard as well. He has a number of knockout wins to his resume there. So I expect one of these guys to go out. I'm hoping Paul Daly is the one to get it done just so I can add to his highlight reel of success. Then there's King Mo against Chuck Congo. I'm not interested in seeing Law at heavyweight. I think he's just fighting to get the big paydays now, which I don't blame him at all. That they are prize fighters. So I expect him to win this fight because I don't think Congo will be able to deal with Law's wrestling. Chuck isn't a bad wrestler himself though, but it's more just like power double legs and just getting on top of guys. Where Law has more of a diversified attack when it comes to wrestling. So I expect him to be able to work from there. And don't forget, Congo has a suspect chin, so with Law's boxing, he may be able to click check from there and set up a good finish. So I'm definitely taking King Mo in that fight. You have Sokoju fighting against Linton Vassell. I expect Linton Vassell to take that fight just because Sokoju sucks. Say what you want, he's a big hitter, but that guy's he's a joke. Looking the rest down the card, I think I've already talked about Brendan Ward and Tanner McCoy. I believe I talked about this fight last week. You have Neiman Gracie fighting as well. So we're just going to look around and see this guy Bobby Flynn fighting. I almost called him Bobby Flay, but anyway, don't mind me. There's this is obviously free MMA, so if you're in on a Friday, it's not a bad watch. Catch that Bellator 134. Then we have UFC 184 this weekend, which is now just Ronda Rousey and Kat Zingano at the top of the card. And even though people are trying to get that "Don't Buy 184" hashtag going, there's going to be people. Unfortunately, we shouldn't take that attitude towards MMA, even when it's not at its upper echelon. Obviously, this is what it is. This is what we got because of Weidman's injury. So I'm not too mad about it. I will be watching the event just because I'm always interested in seeing what Ronda adds to her game next. I think the big hurdle for Kat Zingano is that she's a slow starter. She started very slow against Miesha Tate, and she started very slow in her last fight as well. But she had to kind of pull it out from the end, and that's not how you want to fight Ronda Rousey. She comes out quickly with the intention of finishing you right from the start. So if Kat can't get firing right from the first 2 or 3 minutes, then I expect Ronda to take her down and finish her. Um, that's been her game for the couple of years we've seen her in the sport. And if you can't stop her from doing that at the very start, then you're going to be in for a quick night. Luckily, she'll get you out of there quickly. So I expect this to finish in the first round with Rousey getting another submission finish. Holly Holm and Raquel Pennington is the co-main event, and the only reason this is the co-main event is because the UFC wants to set up a Holly Holm Ronda Rousey fight, and they're hoping that Holm gets some type of highlight reel knockout against Rocky. I expect her to finish that fight as well. We're finally getting to see her in the octagon, but Holly has probably the best striking in women's MMA, but that doesn't mean she's ready for Ronda Rousey at all. I expect her to win this fight against Pennington, but I think it's just a setup for her to get that first loss when she faces Rousey at some point this year. Josh Koscheck and Jake Ellenberger. You know, I'm a huge Josh Koscheck fan. He was one of my favorite guys from the very start, but I just think he's done. His striking and wrestling style doesn't fit his physical abilities anymore. He can't take a shot as we've seen in the past. Tyrone Woodley looked like he straight video gamed him. So I expect Jake Ellenberger to get a knockout finish here. As long as Jake isn't that passive Jake Ellenberger that we've seen in the past. If he comes out there and tries to straight blow the doors off of Koscheck, that's what I expect to happen. But if you let Josh win, Josh can easily use wrestling to win 2 rounds here. And pull out the fight early. But Jake has to be willing to come out and start, just like Cat Zingano. He can be someone that is a slow starter. But if he comes out and fights the way he fought against Jake Shields a couple years back, and I expect him to get the win there. Another fight that I had my eye on is Tony Ferguson Gleason Tebow fight. El Cucuy's been on a good run. He was talking about fighting his way into title contention, and Gleason Tebow is one of those guys you have to beat if you want to get there. Gleason's been in the UFC for it feels like this guy's been there forever, and he just keeps winning. He has that style that people grown to watch, but he knows how to get the job done, and he has a style that can kind of stifle Tony Ferguson. The thing about Tony is that he's very active on his feet, and he's very active off of his back too as well. So for a guy like Gleason who likes to take you down and hold you in position, that can kind of be a threat from there. But other than that, I'm looking forward to this fight too as well. I expect Tony Ferguson to get the win just because he's so active. But you can never really count against Gleason Tebow, because I swear all this guy does is win, and he wins in his own way. Mark Williams is on the card too as well. I don't know too much about the guy Rowan that he's fighting. Diego Lima is there too against Tim Ways and Me. I don't even know if that's his nickname, but I just like to call this guy Tim Ways and Me. But whatever. Derek Lewis is back against Ruben Potts. I think somebody's going to knock the hell out in that fight as well. You have D. James Krause, who it's stuff that this guy is known for his nickname more than anything else. But he's on the card. So there's some good guys that are going to be fighting, but obviously people are upset about the quote unquote value of this event. But I'm not too upset with what I'm saying. I think this is a pretty good card. So that's like all the previews for the UFC events coming forward, or the MMA events this week. I don't know if anyone saw boxing last night, but Gennady got another win. I think this is what he has 19 straight knockouts. I forgot how many it was, but he beat the hell out of Martin Murray for like almost 12 rounds last night. No, he won in 11, but it was just a brutal beating from start to finish. If you're not too excited with boxing, too excited with some of the guys that are available, Gennady is definitely one of those guys you should watch. He gets people excited because he's going to go out there and try to put somebody to sleep. So he's definitely one of those guys who just keeps punching. He keeps attacking guys. He's very aggressive, very violent. So if you want to get into boxing, but you don't really know who to watch, he's definitely someone that you can watch. And you can still kind of catch him on HBO boxing before you have to catch him on big pay-per-views. So he Go back, maybe YouTube some of his past fights. Watch him just continue knocking guys out, continue stopping guys. So I'm knocking him down. He's not one of those guys that just goes in there and boxes to like outpoint people. He goes out there to put you down and put you out. So he's someone that fans should definitely get behind. Um, he's been talking about wanting to fight Miguel Cotto, and now that the Mayweather and Pacquiao fight has been signed, thank God, it's set for May 2nd. Miguel Cotto's out there, so I would love for them to put that all on the same card, get that as a co-main event. Man, that would just people are already going to buy that fight to begin with. I heard people are rumoring that they expect to make $250 million that on May 2nd. So just adding that fight to the card would make it even more amazing. Miguel Cotto is another one of those guys. He's just someone who keeps going straight forward, keeps striking, and keeps banging. So I don't know why not. If you want to put those two guys together and make them the co-main event of Pacquiao and Mayweather, they're going to make even more money. So again, I'm not surprised. I hope they can make it happen, and I would love to see this guy fight Canelo eventually some point in 2015. Hopefully that'll be like his third fight of the year. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that boxing coverage in there. Hopefully you got to see the fight last night. If not, you can catch it again. It'll definitely be replayed later on throughout the week. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was in WWE Fastlane. I don't care if you don't like talking about pro wrestling and MMA on the same show. That's how I have grew my appreciation for MMA. So I'm gonna talk about it. Period. It is, I guess, the midway point between, uh, I guess, Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. So I'm glad that they switched up their gears and didn't just force feed Roman Reigns down our throat. I think that adding Daniel Bryan to the mix has been beneficial for the promotion and their storylines, because now I'm kind of interested in seeing the match. I'm interested in seeing where they go from here. So before, I didn't care. I wasn't interested in seeing Roman Reigns. Some of my other friends who watch wrestling were like, "I'm done with the sport. I'm done with the promotion. I'm canceling my network." But obviously they didn't. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm interested in looking forward to seeing that main event. I want to see the Tyson Kidd Cesaro team get the titles too as well. I just think that they're a six tag team. Both of those two guys are underappreciated. So I hope they get the belts there. Um, I hope that we see Sheamus come back. And I'm just hoping for a good card. I'm interested in seeing what they're going to do with Rusev, John Cena as well. I hope they don't let Cena get over go over on Rusev as well. So there's definitely a lot of value in this event. Obviously, I have the WWE Network, so it's just $10 to me. But yeah, I'm looking forward to tonight's event. I'm going to watch that instead of the UFC, just because I think it's just a better show to me. If UFC had a bigger event on, I would obviously watch that, but clearly they don't tonight, so no complaints out of me. But yeah, what do I have coming up for MMA ratings this week? Obviously, I have the two PED pieces that I worked on. I'm going to do a breakdown for Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. I'm looking at that fight, doing some early analysis on that as well, and also going to probably do some work on UFC 184 event coming up, in the way many people are upset about the value of the card. It's obviously, we're going to have our pieces up there, so be sure to check us out daily. You can catch us at MMA Ratings.net. You can follow me at rgarcia_sports. You can also follow Michael Ford, Nathan McCarter. They support the site as well. Even though Roy Jones is gone, you can still follow him because he supports the site. Adam Martin's out there writing content for us. And next week we may have two new guest hosts as well. So I'm not going to say who quite yet because we're still working out the details. But be sure to check us out because if we do, we will gladly announce it during the week. But again, this is Raphael Garcia for MMA Ratings. Catch us here next week, Sunday. Again, check out you always check out our YouTube page to watch the past episodes of the podcast. And I appreciate you again and have a great Sunday.